Today we have a 2010 Mazda 2. It's fitted with the 1.5 petrol engine and it's got roughly 74,000 miles on the clock. We're going to be looking at the track rod end today on this vehicle. It's failed its MOT on that. So before your customer leaves, it's a good idea to find out where to find this, the locking wheel nut key. People tend to keep them in all different places. Can spend a long time trying to find the thing. So before I take the car up in the air, or before you jack it up, it's a good idea just to crack the wheel nuts loose. That one was tight. That's it. We'll take it up in the air next. Now that the weight's off of the ground, you can see there that's quite a bit of free play. Wheel nuts are still nipped, so it's not just the wheel jiggling about. I should be able to show that a bit better once the wheel's off. So you might notice a little bit of a rattle when you're going down the road. The steering might feel a bit of a floaty sensation. You're always slightly correcting it. And if you leave it too long, it can wear out your tyres. So we'll just go ahead and get this wheel off now. So the track rod end's actually round this side. You've got your steering rack here, arm coming out. Then you've got a lock nut there, and this is your track rod end. And this is a ball joint on the end, which is worn out. It is literally just a ball and socket. It's a little bit difficult to show it now. It's not magnified as much. Oh, there you go. So we've got to try and remove this nut, or the split pin, whatever it is there. Take this castellated nut off, crack this loose, and hopefully remove the track rod end. Right, so I think I'll start by turning that steering round just to get this out a bit. Now, as you can see, it's very rusty. I'm just going to give it a quick wire brush off. Give soap with some WD-40. Now the first thing I want to do, while it's all still in place, see if I can crack this locking nut loose. Yeah, very tight. There it goes. The trouble is these do tend to seize on the actual arm there, on the tie bar. Right, that's loose. Let's see if we can get this pin out. Get that nut off. That was a 21mm. I think this was probably originally a 19mm, but the amount that's corroded off of it, I think we get an 18mm on there. Ah, that come off easier than expected. So the trackward end, I'll show you, I've got the new one here. That's the nut we've just removed. This shaft is tapered. You can see it's narrower at the top than at the bottom. So the tighter it's done up in here, you know, the snugger fit it'll be and less likely to work loose. Now, to release that, you could use a ball joint splitter, like a fork prong in between here to force them apart. But all you need to do is tap this and that should drop out. Like so. Now with these, that's how you adjust your tracking, the front wheel alignment on the steering rack tie bar. So I've already cracked that loose. Now I can undo this. So you need to count the amount of turns it takes to undo this from the tie bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's about just over 18. Somewhere about there. Ah. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18. Cool. So that's a lot tighter than the old one, which is how it should be. Yeah, it just wobbles around. Probably find that, oh yeah, look at that. You normally find that they're perished or split and the water gets in and just sits in there and corrodes them, and that's when they wear out. Well, that's very peculiar. The hole is right up the top there. Oh, the wheel is up against the ramp on the other side, making it tight to turn. Ah, that's it. It all seems to work as it should do. Seems a bit pointless putting this through if it's not going to sit in one of those. Maybe the nut. I think the nut is a lot shallower than the original one. Perhaps I'll take this one out and compare. No, that hasn't really made any difference. I think what I'll do is take it back out and compare the width of the chamfered part of the shaft in case it's smaller and pulled through a bit further. That does look a bit thinner actually, unless it's just me. I don't think I'm going to get a true reading because the boots are at different heights. Oh yeah, definitely smaller. So I will have to phone the supplier and double check on that. It's just a bit smaller, so it's been allowed to pull it up a bit higher, which I'm sure it'll be fine because it still does up tight, but it just means that the hole doesn't line up with the castellated nut top where you put the pin through. The only other option would be to either put a washer on there to raise the height of the nut or drill a new hole, which I don't really want to do. I'll give them a ring and see what they say. Right, having double checked, this is the only size they supply. Unless you go to a main dealer, you'll probably find that it's a genuine part will fit a bit snugger. It won't go in quite so far. I mean, this fits perfectly. It just means that the thread protrudes through a bit further than the original one. So what I've done, I've got a new nylock nuts. You need to have a locking device of some sort on this component, and it came with a castellated nut and a pin, which should line up with the hole, and then you put the pin through and it goes through the slot to stop this from working loose and turning. But a nylock nut is sufficient. It's a new one there. I will put the pin back through anyway. Yeah, that's tight. It's just one of those things, using aftermarket parts are never quite the same as original. But there, the pin's back in there as well. Right, so that's back together. I will nip that up now, although the chances are I'll probably need to loosen that again. Some of you may have spotted that the arm has changed. That was another job in one of our other clips. Right, so this is all back together. I'll straighten up the steering and get the wheel back on. Just touching on the ramp. Right, it's important not to overdo it with an air gun with a locking wheel nut key, because you can fracture it and break it quite easily. Okay, so we'll drop the ramp down next and check the tightness of the wheel nuts on the floor. Right, the job's done. Today we've done a couple of jobs on the steering, the front suspension. It's always recommendable to check the front wheel alignment, the tracking, if ever you have any of it apart, and rebuild it. Not necessarily so much if you're reusing the old parts, but if, like we've done, fitted a couple of new components, it's worth checking just to make sure it's all still as it should be. Clearly not everybody's got tracking gauges. Fortunately I've got some, so I'm going to go ahead and settle the suspension, because the car's been up in the air, put the gauges on and check and adjust where necessary. Obviously you could run it down to your local tyre centre. They'll probably charge about £20–25 to check it for you.